Chapter 1. The reality of the monthly payment. Okay, so you need a car? Walk in, pick something you like, sign a few papers, drive off the lot. That's the whole transaction in your head. Simple, normal. Something tens of millions of people do every single year without thinking twice. Here's what's actually happening underneath that. You are entering one of the most quietly engineered financial products sold to the average person. Every number on that contract, the price, the term, the rate, has been shaped for years by an industry that has figured out exactly which number you're going to look at, and it isn't the one that matters. The average car payment in America just hit $773 a month. Total auto debt has crossed $1.68 trillion, roughly tied with every federal student loan combined. And underneath all of it, repossessions are climbing back to levels we haven't seen since the 2008 financial crisis. So let's actually open the hood on this thing. Chapter 2. How the payment got hidden. First, the trick. Back in 2018, the average new car payment was $506. Today, it's $773. That's a 40% jump in under a decade. Car prices went up, but here's the part. Almost nobody clocks. Lenders had a choice when that happened. Let the monthly payment rise honestly with the price. Or stretch the loan across more years so the number on the screen looks friendlier. They picked the second option almost every time. A 5-year loan quietly became a 6-year loan, then 7. Today, loans of 84 months or longer make up nearly 23% of every new car financed in the country. A decade ago, that number sat around 10%. It's more than doubled. 7 years is long enough to finish a college degree and still be making payments on the car you drove to your first class in. And stretching the loan doesn't lower the actual cost. It just moves the pain further down the road and adds more interest on top of it. The payment looks smaller. The total bill gets bigger. Chapter 3. The math nobody shows you. Let's actually run the numbers because this is where it gets ugly fast. Finance $35,000 at 7% over 60 months, and you'll pay around $6,500 in interest over the life of the loan. Stretch that exact same $35,000 to 84 months, and even if the rate stays flat, total interest jumps to roughly $9,200. That's $2,700 extra, just for the privilege of a smaller-looking number on your statement. And that's before you factor in something even worse. Cars depreciate fast, roughly 20% in year 1 alone. Stretch your loan long enough, and for a big chunk of it, you owe more than the car is even worth. That gap has a name in the industry: being underwater. And right now, a record share of trade-ins are rolling in with negative equity, meaning people are paying off one car's debt using the loan for their next car, compounding the whole every single time they upgrade. Chapter 4. Who's actually falling behind? So who's feeling this first? Subprime borrowers, people with weaker credit, are falling behind on payments at the worst rate in 32 years. Not since 1994. Once someone falls 60 days behind, the lender can legally repossess the vehicle. It gets towed, sold at auction for a fraction of what's owed, and the borrower is left with no car and a credit score that just took a direct hit. Here's the part that should worry everyone watching this, not just people with shaky credit. This isn't staying contained anymore. Borrowers with decent, above-average credit are now defaulting at almost double the rate they were before the pandemic. The pain is climbing the ladder, one credit tier at a time. Chapter 5. The company that became the warning label. Let's put a real name on this instead of just a chart. There was a company called Tricolor. Their model was simple: sell used cars, finance the loans themselves, mostly to subprime borrowers who couldn't get approved anywhere else. For a while, this looked like a genius business. High interest rates on borrowers with zero other options meant thick margins on paper. Then the exact wave they were riding turned around and swallowed them. Delinquencies piled up. Repossessions piled up. Tricolor collapsed, and it drew enough attention that it landed in front of Congress. with lawmakers opening investigations into how these lenders actually operate behind closed doors. Tricolor wasn't a freak accident, it was a preview, a company built entirely on borrowers who were already maxed out, and it only took one rough stretch of the economy to knock the whole structure over. And somewhere inside that collapse were real people, not line items. People who financed a car to get to work, lost it to repossession, and are still paying off a loan on a vehicle sitting in an auction lot they'll never see again. Chapter 6. Why the incentives never point towards you. Here's the uncomfortable part. Nothing about this system is broken. It's working exactly as designed, just not for the person signing the paperwork. Dealers get paid the moment you sign, not when you finish paying. Lenders make more money the longer you stay in debt, because that's more interest collected over time. Finance managers often get bonuses tied to which loan terms and add-ons they upsell you into. Every single person in that finance office has an incentive for your loan to be bigger and longer. Nobody in that room gets paid to tell you, maybe don't do this. And it doesn't stop at the loan terms. Automakers make significantly more margin on larger, pricier vehicles than on small, affordable ones. So over the last decade, truly affordable models have quietly disappeared from showrooms. A decade ago, there were roughly 36 new car models available under $25,000. Today, that number sits around 4. More than 43% of new vehicles are now purchased by households earning $150,000 a year or more. The market has quietly repositioned itself around people who can absorb the cost, while everyone else gets funneled into longer loans on cars they can barely afford. Chapter 7. Two scenarios run side by side. Let's actually compare two realistic paths, because this is the part that matters more than anything else in this video. Scenario 1. You buy a reasonably priced used car, finance it over 48 months at a fair rate, and keep the loan-to-income ratio sensible. Total interest paid stays manageable, the car retains enough value to avoid going underwater, and by the time it's paid off, you own an asset outright with years of use left in it. This is the version almost nobody gets sold because it produces the least profit for everyone standing between you and the car. Scenario 2, the one an increasing number of buyers are actually living. A car priced above what the budget really supports, stretched across 72 or 84 months to make the payment look survivable, at a rate a few points higher because the credit profile isn't perfect. Interest quietly balloons by thousands of dollars. The car depreciates faster than the loan balance drops, so for 2 or 3 years, the loan is underwater. Any bump, a job loss, a medical bill, a rate hike on a variable expense elsewhere is enough to push the payment from tight to missed. And once it's missed, the tow truck doesn't care how good your intentions were when you signed. The difference between those two paths isn't luck. It's almost entirely decided by two numbers most buyers never even ask about: the loan term and the total interest, not the monthly payment plastered across every advertisement. Chapter 8. Where this actually goes. Total auto loan balances keep climbing every quarter. The problem caused by stretched out loans keeps being the same fix that caused it. Stretch it out a little further, hide the pain a little longer. At some point, that stops working. Either lenders start absorbing real losses, or borrowers keep getting squeezed until something breaks. Based on what already happened to Tricolor, we're getting a pretty clear preview of which one it's going to be. Chapter 9. The honest advice. If the appeal of your next car is purely about getting the lowest monthly number a dealer can show you, the numbers above are not on your side. The people who come out ahead in this system are the ones who stop looking at the payment and start looking at the total cost. The ones who walk in already knowing the term and the interest before they ever sit down at that desk. Your car payment isn't just a bill you clear every month. It's a multi-year commitment to a depreciating asset, sold to you one comfortable, manageable-looking number at a time. That's the trap. Not the car, the number. This story is still unfolding. If you want to see where it goes next, subscribe, because I'll be covering it as it happens.